All right, we're saving a lot of money. In fact, in the prior estimate, we were saying a little bit more than 3% of our income, now 7.2%. A lot of people are saying that that couldn't be because, you know, after the meltdown, when a lot of us were socking money away, we never wanted to revisit something like that a lot of people experienced firsthand or seen their parents go through it, neighbors, friends go through it, that we were going to have a cushion for the next time something like that could happen. We never gave up the cushion. We never gave up the fight to have the cushion. So what's odd about this number, and something I want to raise with Mattie Duppler, the National Taxpayers Union, the senior fellow there, is that people continue to do that and shop judiciously. So there's a little bit of an opportunity for everything. What do you make of it?
Yeah, Neil, a couple things happening right now. One, I think we see evidence that the people who were down on the tax reform law not being able to change things and saying that it was just a sugar high for the economy, there's evidence that that's wrong, and that's because what happened with tax reform is now changing some of the more pervasive problems we have with income instability in this country, and it's what you mentioned. It's savings. The fact that over the past decade or so, our savings rate has been so low, and leading into that 2008 recession, we saw really some difficulties with Americans not saving enough, thinking that the equity in their home was enough as a savings nest egg for them. And of course, what we saw that followed, that was not the case. But now that Americans have more after-tax income, what they're doing with that income is noteworthy. They're spending it, yes, but they're saving it as well. We're now seeing some changes, not just in the last couple of years, but in this first quarter alone. The Bureau of Economic Analysis said that the savings rate for Americans, they estimate to double from the last year. And that's just in this first quarter when we're starting to see changes in that after-tax income change.
You know what I found surprising, and it's the first thing I always tell a lot of young people who are foolish enough to ask me for investment advice. I just say, spend a lot less than what you earn.
Yeah.
and the thinking being that I've seen millionaires go broke spending much more than the millions they're making, and that you should just learn to live with less, and not even dramatically less, but at that margin, it can make a big difference. Now, I'm wondering if that's coming into play here. People have rebounded financially, they're doing better, but they're not spending every new penny that's coming in.
I think that's exactly right. And the thing about savings is that it's a compounding effect, right? Exactly. The earlier you start saving, the more you'll have saved in the long run. And we're seeing this now, the news that we've got a record number of 401k millionaires out there. People have taken note and started to invest in their own livelihoods and in their own savings in the long term. Now, it is a good question as to whether or not young people will take note of that. Of course, millennials like myself have gotten a lot of flack for our spending habits. And you're right, we need to spend less, but we also need institutional changes from a policy perspective that induces people to save. You know, looking forward in September, the House of Representatives has talked about how they're going to do tax reform 2.0, and a big component of that is changing the way we save. It's making savings more accessible for not only employers to offer that to their workers, but to individuals to take advantage of savings vehicles that they may not have had an opportunity to do so in the past. Increasing the sophistication and the financial understanding of why savings are so important is very, very important in the coming years as we see young people age into the workforce. You
know, another thing that's going on here, I'm hoping it's not skewing these numbers, is the fact, you know, the market goes up, dividends, all that stuff goes up with it too. So is that skewing the data to make it look better than it normally would be? I don't think that's the case, but it does help, right?
Well, I think, Neil, that we need to maybe recalibrate our expectations here. We're so used to having a skepticism about Americans' financial futures that when we see a good stock market, when we see healthy savings and we see healthy consumption, people start to look around and ask, oh my goodness, what do we do next? Well, what we do next, I think, is invest in the future. We make sure our savings vehicles are there for everyone who wants to use them, and that will take care of some of these long-term worries when people are reflecting on what's happened in the past when we haven't had that stability to lay back on.
Yeah, I just think realizing the money in and the money out. If governments realize that the state, local, federal level, and individuals just get a good sense of your budget, what you want to do, and live accordingly.
Exactly right.
It is not rocket science, which, by the way, is very expensive. Rocket science is a very expensive field. All right, thank you very, very much. Mattie Duppler.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you very, very much. All right, we got a lot more of the president now, just a little more than an hour away from honoring ICE at the White House.